Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2025 KTM 390 Adventure, something that you've been looking forward to for such a long time, which includes us, because we've been waiting for this bike since forever, something like this forever, because nothing comes close to what KTM has delivered this time in the second generation of the Adventure series. The first generation also was quite good. In some ways, this now becomes so damn tempting that you will really start saving for it, even in conditions where the markets are going for a toss. You might find money some way or the other to get this bike out of the showroom and into your garage, because the KTM 390 Adventure in the second generation and second avatar has taken the game to an all new level. We have ridden it extensively. This is one of the first few road tests that are coming a little late after everybody else's. I'm sure you've already been impatient enough and checked other reviews, but we've ridden it down from Goa to Bombay, ridden it within Bombay, and then here we are with the review of the bike. What is it like? What is on offer? Let's find out as quickly as possible, because there are a lot of things that need to be discussed, because I have put it through every single possible terrain, environment, and in this in the way the bike is supposed to be, where the bike is supposed to be, riding it down from Goa to Mumbai in one of Maharashtra's most treacherous roads, the NH66, which has become challenging in every single way. This bike showcased that nothing is let's say big enough for this bike. As always, let's begin with the design. What you can see is a very functional, very big windscreen, which has a small vent here to make sure that you are cool enough to be riding in the city when the speeds are lower, and there will still some air that will come here and make sure that you are cool. At the same time, it of course serves the aerodynamic purpose, as you can see right here. And this is of course not adjustable. I asked KTM why isn't it adjustable. I think the short answer is that it would have taken the cost much higher, and I think one of the reasons why it hasn't been done. But I can tell you this windscreen works for people under 5'10", because they will not need anything else, even for long distance touring, which I've done with this motorcycle. These two projector lights with LEDs, they work really well, but what we've noticed over the riding period of almost 10 days and 800 kilometers is that the lights, there's a very big story behind it as well, that the lights are pointing towards the sky or somewhere on the left. More on my bike it's on the left, on somebody else's journalist bike it's pointing towards the sky. This is a pertinent problem with Bajaj when they end up putting projectors in any bike. Most of the time when the first patch at least comes out, the lights are pointing every other way instead of going more straight. So this should be a small fix, and the lights after that are going to be phenomenal. In terms of spread, it is fantastic. The illumination is also very good enough, and the throw is quite far away as well. It's a good 300 meters for sure. So that's that. You get this very nice solid beak and LED turn indicators, very good handguards here, which are slightly flimsy. I think the first generation KTM 390 Duke that came out had, I think, slightly much robust feeling plastic for their handguards, but I think this is the same as PP, so it's painted panels, which are supposed to be very rock solid, at the same time very light as well. I think this is also a part of that. This definitely is. I had confirmed this with KTM that this panel is really good, and that's quite fantastic. You get mirrors directly lifted off the Gen 3 Duke 390, and the number plate holder is really well done. LED indicators are welcome. And look at those fork protectors right there. They are massive. They are the requirement for this motorcycle. A 21-inch wheel with a very large disc brake, patented and very functional and very reliable spoke wheels from KTM. They have the 2-seal system inside that makes sure that it doesn't get punctured, and as you can see, the spokes are also done in a way that they are supposed to be much more robust. So, and this has been perfected by KTM for the last decade, ever since they've started making adventure motorcycles in the road going space. So this should be quite fantastic on a daily basis. You've got the same engine mounting and everything from the Duke 390, but everything changes from this side. It's a brand new subframe that will help you house much more luggage, and you can take a lot more load, but at the same time the seat is quite small. It is good enough for short distances and maybe slightly weekend ride, but I don't think long distances are going to be possible here, because the seat on the first gen 390 Adventure was much bigger. Unfortunately, I've not been able to test it entirely. A short run with my friend here and there he said it's just about okay. So we'll take his word on that. And again, what you see here is a massive wheel, which is a 17 at the back and 21 inch at the front, which actually is a very, very impressive combination. One of the reasons why it is so good to ride. How exactly, I'll let you know while I'm riding. And a very, very small tail lamp, a very, very sharp tail piece here. Again, very solid plastic all around. We've got the India friendly sari guard here, and the big highlight, 830 seat height, which is very, very narrow indeed. Even me right now, 5'11" without motorcycle boots and slightly taller with motorcycle boots, I am able to get my feet completely flat on the ground because this is so narrow. Even so, usually heavier guys can find even normal 800, 820, 830 seat height bikes a little bit on the tiptoeing side, or maybe slightly, not by much. So, but it's not the case here because the seat is very narrow. One of the reasons why the subframe has been revised heavily to make sure that the seat height is low, the ground clearance stays high, and you get fantastic high suspension travel as well. What you can see here is the new rubber mounts and for the foot pegs, which is also quite impressive and entirely new for this motorcycle. The tank pretty much remains the same as it is for the KTM Duke 390 that I own. So like I told you on Instagram that I am a Gen 3 Duke 390 owner, and there will be a lot of things that I am unable to talk because I will see very similar aspects here, which includes this side of the switch gear. And this handlebar is of course much wider. The gear lever and this master cylinder also remains the same, but this side of the switch gear has cruise control on offer, and you can set it from this button here and here. So plus and minus is here, and you can set it very, very easily, and it works like a charm. I will explain more while I'm telling you about the riding part. This is the C mode, which can do a lot of things. So you can configure the modes, and the modes are range, street and off-road, and the modes are also adjustable. So you can configure the off-road mode. Let's go into rain. Then I can configure the road mode, rain mode, sorry. The throttle response can be adjusted to off-road, rain and street, even in, as you can see, off-road mode. So if I go into rain, then it says configure rain, and you can see rain pretty much doesn't allow you throttle and changes. Only the off-road mode will allow you changes, where you can have 3 types of throttle response: rain, street and off-road within them. So that is a very nice thing that KTM has done to make sure that you get what you really want from this motorcycle, because throttle response is very, very necessary for bikes that go off-road, and they need to be in a certain way in certain situations. So this is a job really well done. And basically off-road is the sport mode of this bike, because of course it's an adventure bike, you can't call it sport mode. So KTM is putting it as off-road, and that's one of the reasons why they've helped you configure this mode individually as well. So you can have 3 types of throttle responses in off-road mode, and that will help you. In the info space, you get 2 trips, fuel range, coolant temperature, clock date, your usual things. Cruise control is here, mode is also here, speed control is also available, cruise control is also available. You have the navigation, which works brilliantly. I had to stop in the middle of the road to start navigation and at least connect my phone to the instrument cluster. It was done within 3 minutes. So I think that is something that impressed me quite a lot in that aspect. You can have everything connected here. You can see everything that is happening here. Any music player that you play your music from will obviously show you that what music is being played on the screen right here. So that is also something that KTM has done really well. You don't see that very easily, let me tell you that. And you have all these functions, how you can adjust the screen. I've explained this in the Duke 390 review, and you already know, which is everything pretty much remains the same. The levers are adjustable, as you can see, but it is going to be a little difficult adjusting them, because as you can see, the hand guards come in between. So you will have to get this pressed, and then you have to do like this, and then you probably have to get someone to do it for you. So that's that. 14.5 liter fuel tank has hard and fast driving saw me doing 350 kilometers, but riding it very slowly, under 100 at times when I was really tired and just approaching home. I filled it up again and saw that this has the potential to do 400 kilometers of range quite easily. So that's brilliant. That's a good amount of fuel capacity that is on offer. The plastics here can feel cheap, or you can call them robust, because this bike is meant to fall quite a lot if you are into serious hardcore off-roading, and it does feel robust. As you can see, it is actually a pain right now when I do this. It is quite solid. This part might feel a little bit cheap, but here it all feels quite robust. It feels like it can take a good amount of beating, and that is quite impressive. So this is something that KTM has done. People say that it's a very expensive bike, it shouldn't be there, plastic must be higher quality. I think it's good enough, it's finished well, but it needs to be robust as well so that it doesn't keep on breaking. We'll have to see, of course, after all, how does it age and how does it go well in the time ahead. You've got an USB port here, and I think it's a C, keeping in modern times, that's on offer. And of course the big part, adjustability for the suspension, that is on offer. There is compression and rebound setting at the front, and a preload and rebound at the back. I've played with these settings on my Duke 390, and let me tell you, they make a world of a difference, an absolute day and night in terms of how the changes can feel like, because I adjusted the front suspension. I couldn't do anything with the rear much, because I saw that the ride quality was quite okay even with my weight, but the front is more important for me as I am a heavier rider, and for any rider, lighter or heavier, the front is absolutely necessary to be as good as possible. So, and that's the reason why it is adjustable. Apart from that, fit finish quality in most areas is quite brilliant, and it feels like a bike that is really well put together. And as of now, in the almost 800 kilometers, I haven't faced any issues. And if you're talking about the underbelly exhaust, how is it going to wade through water? It has done that. KTM Bajaj says that they've tested it extensively, started the bike and stopped the bike within almost 400 mm of water, and it started without any problems. It has the baffles and the systems really well done, so that this isn't a problem. I think too, if you get an aftermarket exhaust, just for noise reasons or performance reasons, you will have to make sure that you get a proper mounting done and here and there to make that possible. But this will not let's say this will help you wade through water. Don't worry about it much. When they started and stopped the bike within water, I think that says a lot on how they've gotten the system right. And Bajaj KTM has known for getting their underbelly exhaust right from the day one or Gen 1 motorcycles that they've made, and they've passed the water test quite well. There has not been a single issue till date. Apart from that, it's got a very big patch plate. You've got almost 200 mm plus of travel clearance at the front and at the back, and almost over 200 mm of ground clearance on offer, along with that magical number of 830 mm of seat height, which will help a lot of people get their feet on the ground very easily and makes this motorcycle very, very accessible. So after all, how is it like to ride? So what is the KTM 390 Adventure like to ride in its 2025 avatar? Well, to begin with, the specs are the same as the Gen 3 Duke 390. So what you get here is 46 bhp and 39 Nm of torque. That's a significant improvement over the second generation. In terms of power delivery and the way it is being delivered, well, it is a little bit dull and linear over the Duke 390 I've been riding for over a year. I can tell you that this feels a little bit dull and a little bit linear and much more docile and controlled than the Duke 390, to make sure that you are at ease and you are not surprised while off-roading with the kind of power delivery that the Duke had. The Adventure has been tamed down. So I think that's a step in the right direction. They've also changed the gearing and sprocketing a little bit to make sure that you get much more low end torque as well, and that is also very much visible easily. That is what something Adventure bikes need to have, and KTM has upgraded this by a big margin over the Gen 2 variant, the Gen 1 of the KTM Adventure 390. And what that does is gives you more low end torque and more mid range than ever before, and it continues to have a very, very healthy top end. So while as you can see, I've been riding within the two states, from Goa to Mumbai, and I've ridden it enough in Mumbai as well to see the fact that the power delivery is actually good enough, and it now makes a lot more sense riding in the city than ever before, be it over the first and second gen Duke and the first gen 390 Adventure as well. It's a significant leap in rideability is what I'm trying to say, and at the same time the no lack of performance on the highway has made this bike absolute a star performer indeed, because you can easily cruise at 120 130 kilometers an hour because of that fantastic windscreen like I told you about. It works really well in its favor. So with my height I was facing a little bit of wind resistance, but throughout the entire journey that wasn't the point that tired me out. It was the seat that actually tired me out, because it was rock solid, it was brand new. So for me to fit inside it would take much more kilometers than the 800 900 kilometers that I have done on it, and that was the only sore point. But like I told you earlier, is that the seat height is actually quite brilliant. 830 is very good enough, and the foot peg positioning is now very good. The foot pegs have of course also changed like I showed you. So long distance touring is a big thumbs up. If you are under 6 feet, you're really going to enjoy this bike, because there is going to be no wind buffeting, and once you are well contoured into the seat, you will actually enjoy the seat much better, because once you get into it and once it takes the right shape according to your body, it is going to be a blast for sure. Because I can tell you as a Gen 3 Duke 390 owner that the seat gets better, and I've owned the Gen 1 Duke 390 as well, so the seat just keeps on getting better, that's for sure. So that's the ergonomics, that's the engine. It's much more rideable. Before riding it within city, Mumbai city, I've seen that it doesn't heat up at all. It's got the twin fans like how the first gen had as well, and that is keeping the heat at bay for sure. The other thing that you will also notice while riding is that how nimble this bike feels, how agile this bike feels within the city, and all of that helps it corner really well as well. So KTM has increased the wheelbase, increased the rake trail as well, but they've changed a little bit on the steering head angle, so that gives it a very short turning radius, which I can really vouch, because we took a lot of U-turns on off-road and on-road, and while coming throughout this 800-900 kilometer journey, I was very very surprised that within even not so wide roads, it was just taking turns quite well. So for a bike of this size, and with the capability it has, the kind of wheelbase it has, it's been taking very short U-turns, and actually that's quite brilliant. Once you put in the off-road position, you put yourself in the off-road position and take U-turns, it becomes even more easier. So that is something that you will really enjoy. Apart from that, like I told you about the engine and gearbox, they are quite smooth, but our test bike it was almost done 1100 kilometers, and I think an oil change will make a lot of difference, and this will become much more smoother and better, and it will be even more fun, that's for sure. So this is something you will let's say realize while riding in the first 1000 kilometers. So that's why I just need to tell you that this is going to happen. Stay patient, and very very likely this is going to be a lot better than you anticipate after the first 1000 kilometers. In terms of handling, really impressive. The tires of course are great off the road, but I think there is still better scope. The tires of course are a little bit noisy, a little bit hard, and as always Apollos don't really live up to the mark in multiple ways with most of their tires. This is also no exception. I think a better tire would have helped. See a tire, or if you can swap it with let's say a TVS Eurogrip or a TVS Eurogrip which fits this bike, or a Seat tire, I think you will have much better results. You will have even more fun. I had a blast riding this bike on the highway, going through very fast sweepers and corners, and I really enjoyed the stability and the agility and the nimbleness this bike has. I think with better tires it will be even better. So this will be borderline amazing to ride with the right set of tires. And but even if you want to stick to stock tires, you won't be disappointed. But you can't help it with Apollo tires, so that's a different story altogether. Brakes, really impressive. Front and rear brakes work really well. There is traction control, the quick shifter, everything works really well. And what I also noticed is that the 21-inch wheel at the front and 17 at the back just lends it pretty much godlike capabilities on certain highways. So in Maharashtra we have the NH66, which is quite broken, has severe gradient climbs and the roads are really in bad condition at certain places. Some places it's absolutely brilliant, and so you can ride faster. So it has that dual nature. With even with a 21-inch wheel at the front, it just goes over everything really well, and it can still corner and still feel limble, agile, stable at the same time. So this dual nature of this bike is something that is blowing all of us away. I'm sure you've seen a lot of other reviews, and you will see more reviews that will come ahead. Is that the dual nature of the bike is so good. Both these aspects are nailed together so well, along with the tubeless spoke wheel tires, and that also really escalate the game. Like, you can literally just go off-road and go do on-road, and come back home. You don't need to worry about anything at all. That is what exactly we did. We were in the first ride in Goa, and then we came back to Bombay. We did off-roading, we did everything. We took the same bike back home, and that dual nature of this bike just impresses you so much that you will just be very, very impressed. The more you ride this bike, the more you will realize that the purchase for this bike has been excellent. I've told you already about the lights, how they are, and how comfortable the suspension is for most part. The suspension, of course, is adjustable at both ends, but it does crash a fair bit, not a lot, over some really, really bad, let's say, potholes, or something like a very strong, a very deep but very thin patch of road that is being dug out, and it'll sort of crash into it once a while. Or if you're going really fast, or you're really jumping off something, because I think the suspension rebound could have been a bit more better. Even with adjustability, I think compression also could have been better at the front, and this is what I have noticed in my own bike as well. So this is something, there is still some improvement left in that aspect, but for most of the riders, most of the time, this is not going to be a problem. I can tell you, and what I've been telling you again and again, adjustable suspension makes a world of a difference. And what this bike will show you is that for heavier riders like me, or much, much lighter riders, this suspension works really, really well. It will show you the kind of stability, the kind of poise, and the kind of feedback that you expect from bikes is easily seen here, and something that will really impress you, especially for heavier riders, because for most bikes that we sit on, it usually ends up feeling quite soft, but this one is not the case. You can really feel it even while pushing harder, going faster, going through corners, at very, very high speeds. It just feels very, very stable without much effort. So that is something that KTM gets full marks for giving us adjustable suspension on both ends. There's a bit of improvement that is needed, but I think once that is possible, I think it's easily changeable at the aftermarket market as well, where you can play with the fork oil or something like that to make it even better. So you can keep on trying on that, but most of the time you will be fine, unless you keep on jumping and do off-roading all the time. And if you're really, really, let's say, pissed off with the fact that it crashes with your weight, you feel much more of the jolt coming through the handlebars, you can start playing with the compression and the fork oil a little bit to make it better. I guess I've spoken quite a lot. I've covered the brake, suspension, tires, I've covered the handling, I've covered the stability, I've covered the touring part, I've told you what the lights are like and what the comfort is on offer with the seat. You have realized the fact that this is a bike that will do it all, truly. It has all that capability built into it really well. With a price tag which is just 3,000 to 4,000 rupees more over the previous version, it's a remarkable leap. But at the same time, there is competition from the Himalayan. It is again a good 50,000-60,000 or maybe more cheaper, much cheaper without the spoke wheels. So would you prefer like the Himalayan or the KTM? Is totally up to you, but what my experience is that the KTM is a fantastic bike. You will love it because it's got that dual nature. It's a sport bike, it's a touring bike, it can do off-road. So that nature that this bike has, that sporty nature with touring capabilities, everyday riding capabilities, you don't get that easily. That is what you are paying for. I think that's a very small amount to pay, because KTM's quality here on this bike has been amazing. The kind of panels they've used, the kind of features they've included, it's obviously a little bit it's quite far ahead of the Himalayan for sure, and it is a bike that is absolutely worth considering. It redefines the term all-rounder now, and we are really happy to spend a lot of time with this bike to tell you all about it in detail, taking so much of your time. I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share and subscribe. Follow us on social media and our website, everyday updates. Until then, thank you and goodbye.